What's going on, guys? I'm just gonna go through my top 10 rap albums in 2017 up to this point. I even covered the albums that were released on September, on June 30th, the last Friday of the first half of the year. So before I get into my top 10, I wanted to mention a few records that didn't quite make the cut of my top 10. Doesn't mean that they won't necessarily be there at the end of the year, because my list tends to be fluid as of most people's lists. It can fluctuate a lot. Just to go ahead and take the cat out of the bag. Um, I did not include Run the Jewels 3 in my top 10 because although their initial release date was in January of this year, they released the album as a surprise on Christmas Day. So I did not count it. Um, if I did count it, it would most likely be in my top 5 easily up until this point. But since it was released last year, I did not count it. Let's see here. I'm I'm posting my link to a couple of pages, so bear with me for a second, folks. See if I can get some more folks into the discussion. Hope everybody's having an awesome fourth. Yeah. Let's see. All right. So, and let me take the sound down for that. Oh, I gotta cut the notifications off. All right. So yeah, like I said, I wanted to talk about some of these albums that didn't quite make the cut. There was a lot of the first half of this year has been pretty strong considering. I'm kind of shocked of how strong it was actually, considering some of the albums that came out this year. So first off, let's start with Rick Ross, "Better You Than Me." As usual, Rick Ross comes correct. He has a habit of picking great beats. If Nas had his ear for beats, it'd probably be the GOAT without any question. Um, Rick Ross's album is probably definitely one of the best releases of this year. Uh, I think he threw some shade at Birdman in one of his tracks. He is arguably one of the more consistent rappers out there when it comes to releasing records, and his ear for beats is bar none. He's probably got the best ear for beats than anybody in hip hop. But it didn't quite make my cut. Not knocking the album at all. I just for my 10, it didn't make the cut for me. Joey Badass, All American Badass, that also did not make the cut. I can tell you straight up why. I felt like the album was really good. I felt like the pace of the album, there was a point on the record where it picked up significantly. Like initially at the beginning of the album, you're like, all right, this is pretty good. This is cool. And then Rockabye Baby drops with Schoolboy Q, and the album hops. It hops, and it stays there for the rest of the ride. And my big thing was, well, he was capable to get to that level for the second half of the album. Wonder why he couldn't pull it off for the whole thing. So like making my 10, you gotta be pretty racking and stacking it when it comes to the rap record to the album. But I'll tell you what, Rockabye Baby, I still play that joint to this day. That song goes. Another album that didn't quite make the cut was Raekwon The Wild. I thought this album was really good. I thought I used to go at Raekwon about Immobilarity because I felt like Immobilarity was the second album that came out after Only Built for Cuban Links, his solo project during the solo run. And Immobilarity was so bad that people remind him, like in my head, I always thought, man, it's always Immobilarity, but his last 5 or 6 albums that he's released have been solid, up from solid to really excellent projects. So I think I can take him off of that Immobilarity list and try to get back to pretending that album didn't occur. But when you start sitting down and looking at Raekwon's catalog as a whole, as a solo artist, you got to start building the argument and building the discussion. Other than Immobilarity, he had a solid catalog of solo rap projects. And his resurgence the past 5 or 6 years has been incredible. And he came correct on this record. I'm not going to even deny that. He came correct on this record. Didn't quite make my 10. I mean, it's debatable because the 10th, I'll be honest, for me, the 10th slot is typically the hardest slot to grab. And what happened in the month of June kind of made it even tougher. But Raekwon also released a solid record. Another album, Freddie Gibbs, You Only Live Twice. This is basically about him. This is his first album since he returned from jail when he was wrongfully accused of sexual assault in Austria. So, you know, he came correct. He showed up for this one, but it's an EP, so there aren't that many tracks on it. I thought it was a good return EP for him. I'm looking forward to his full length project, and I know he's cooking up an album with Madlib as well. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But once again, another solid project. Talib Kweli and Styles P, the 7. These guys, Styles P is from the Lox. These guys they did an album together, a small EP together with 7 tracks. The album overall was really good. It's very short, you know, just like 25 minutes long, but it's a solid project. I enjoyed it a lot. I play it very, very often. And the fact that it's so short and it comes and goes so quickly, it's a solid project. But because of the length, I made the decision not to. I wanted to mention it, but I didn't want to put it in my top 10. There's some good hip hop artists on the album as well. Rhapsody's on that record, Common's on that record. The rest of the Lox did a song together with Talib Kweli, which was a great record. Chris Rivers, he did a hook for one of the songs for Let It Burn. So solid project. All right. Next one, Kool G Rap, Return to Dawn. Kool G Rap is pushing 50. He might already be 50 years old, but you know, the 40-year-old rappers have a resurgence. You're going to see a trend of that in my list as well. Everybody says that rap is a young man's game, but I think the reason why is because when rap first started, everybody was young, and some people started at such a young age. But like, there's a lot of MCs that are in their 40s that are still rhyming at a very high level. And Kool G Rap is one of them. This was a solid project. This was really good. I enjoyed this project a lot, and it shows that he hasn't lost a step. Rock Marciano, Rosebud's Revenge, another solid project for Rock Marciano. He's a great artist. You got to look out for him. He's one of the younger cats. He's really good. He can MC. Pretty dope project. Nick Grant, South Carolina product. Return to Cool. This album was really good. I enjoyed this album, and it was refreshing because, you know, you always have the perception about Southern rappers always, you know, talking about, you know, being drunk and high all the time and being lit off lean and all the other nonsense. But Nick Grant pretty much is taking a stand to it, and he's not about that life. Like, there's always Southern rappers that changes the perspective of it, but you don't see it nearly as often as you should. So Nick Grant is trying to carry that banner, and I can't knock him for it. Vince Staples, the Big Fish Theory. I'm a fan of sub 40-minute projects. I thought Vince Staples did an excellent job with this one. I enjoyed this album a lot. I know it just came out recently, but I really enjoyed this album a lot. He is arguably the most underrated rapper, new age rapper that's out right now, that came out with over the last 5 or so years. He does not get the credit he deserves. He's probably going to make more money being more of a personality than being an MC. But as an MC, he is one of the best in the game, bar none, by far. He doesn't get enough credit for it. Eurodro Pax. I like this album a lot. I enjoyed the production on this record. I also people get at him about that he sounds like Nas, and he does sound like Nas, but he's not a bad rapper at all. So, it's kind of like the Action Bronson syndrome with Ghostface. Yeah, he sounds like the guy. He sounds like Ghostface, but Action's still a pretty good MC. So you give him his props and keep it moving. I just wanted to go over those 10 albums, man. They were all on the cusp of making the list. I wanted to give those guys honorable mention. And, so I wanted to give love to those. Once again, those 10 albums: Rick Ross, Rather You Than Me; Joey Badass, All American Badass; Raekwon, The Wild; Freddie Gibbs, You Only Live Twice; Talib Kweli and Styles P, The Seven; Kool G Rap, Return of the Don; Rock Marciano, Rosebud's Revenge; Nick Grant, Return of the Cool; Vince Staples, Big Fish Theory; and Eurodro Pax. So those are my 10 honorable mentions. So let's get into the top 10. Number 10, I have Jinsu Dean and Wise Intelligent, Game of Death. This came out earlier. It came out in early June. I love this project. I think it's refreshing. Wise Intelligent is from this group back in the 90s called the Poor Righteous Teachers. This album was on Mellow Music Group. Look up Mellow Music Group, man. They've done an excellent job in releasing some dope projects over the past few years. For pretty much for the entire time that they've existed. I'm not just going to say the past few years. They deliver the goods majority of, pretty much every time they deliver the goods. I haven't been disappointed with the Mellow Music Group label project yet. So look for those guys, man. They have some dope projects, and they continue to keep releasing dope projects on the way. But yeah, this album was great. A couple of my favorite songs on it was Damn and Amen. Those are probably my two favorite tracks on that record. So yeah, Jinsu Dean, Wise Intelligent, look that album up. Name of the album once again is Game of Death. Number 9, Joyner Lucas, 508-507-2209. This is technically, I think he wanted to clear it up that it's a mixtape, and I do have mixtapes on my list. When I do my top 10, I just take them as projects. If it feels like it's a project, then I'm gonna count towards it. This album slash mixtape is really good. This album is ridiculously good. I knew Joyner Lucas was nice when he like the first time I heard Joyner Lucas is when he did the BET Cypher, and he stole the show. He rocked it something vicious during that BET Cypher, but like this album has a theme. Basically is going through his voice messages and talking about some of the things that he's done wrong and some of the things he's messed up on. And I mean, it went to how terrible a dad he is, to maybe he got accused of robbing a store, stealing some money from a store, to, not being a dependable son. So like this album goes all over the place. This album is really good. It's on the long side. It's close to 90 minutes long. Mystical made an appearance on this album. Probably the best song on the project, FYM. You can figure out what it stands for. But overall, this project is really good. I enjoy this project a lot. And Joyner Lucas changes his flows continuously on this record. He did a chorus on this song. He did a hook on this song, Lullaby, that fit with all three verses, and all three verses was talking about different things. All right. So this album is really good. I highly recommend this project, and it's on your streaming services, so look it up. Joyner Lucas, 508-507-2209. Number 8, Royce the 5'9", Bar Exam 4. This project was ridiculous from the standpoint of Royce the 5'9" decided, all right, I'm just gonna grab a bunch of beats that you wouldn't expect me to rhyme on, and I'm gonna rip them to shreds. And that's what he did for almost 90 minutes. He was ripping beats to shreds, bars upon bars upon bars upon bars. And I've listened to that album like 5 or 6 times, and I'm still catching stuff, and I'm probably gonna be catching stuff for a while. Royce the 5'9" is probably the best MC rapping today that stays active. He's definitely the most active MC, the best active MC out right now by far. He keeps continuously dropping tracks back and forth, bars back and forth, and he's got a bunch of projects on the right way. He's working on Prime 2. He's working on his new solo project, his next solo projects, his follow-up to Layers. He's working, there's talks of him doing a project with Black Thought from the legendary Roots Crew. So that might come down the pike as well. So check out Bar Exam. This album's on DatPiff. It's a mixtape, so it's on datpiff.com. So check it out. Go to DatPiff, download the mixtape. You'll thank me later. He did Lupe Fiasco's Mural, and that took guts because I didn't think somebody could hold that beat on better than Lupe. But I'm strongly debating it. I am strongly debating it. Royce ripped that song to shreds. He did the joint from Wait a Minute. Wait a minute. He did that beat. He ripped a lot of beats. He did Mask Off. He ripped a lot of beats to shreds on that record. All right. Number 8, Royce the 5'9", Bar Exam 4. Number 7, David Banner, The God Box. This is probably this might be arguably the woke album of the year. It's debatable now. I'll follow on to that later, but yeah, this might be the woke album of the year. From a standpoint of the content and what he's talking about throughout the record. He's got a song called Elvis that talks about cultural appropriation. He remains socially aware in the community throughout this album. The production is top notch. The verse of the year is probably on this record for Black Thought, for Who Want It, which also features Watch the Duck. So this album was really good. This probably arguably might be his best work. Some people might debate that, but this might be his best work. It's between this and Death of a Pop Star. But this might be his best work. All right. Brother Ali, All the Beauty in This Whole Life. This album is a very good project. This is done by Rhyme Sayers. Shout out to Rhyme Sayers. They release some solid music as well. A$AP Rock is on Rhyme Sayers as well. So shout out to A$AP Rock. But Brother Ali, he came out with a very, very excellent project. And he doesn't release projects that often. So typically, man, when you wait a long time for a project, like if you know it's been like 4 or 5 years since another artist, since your artist released a project, you have high expectations for that project. And he delivered. And you can play this album around your kids. He doesn't cuss in it at all. He hits some pretty strong issues on songs like Dear Black Son. So I highly recommend this project as well. So number 6, Brother Ali, All the Beauty in This Whole Life. Number 5, Big Boy, Boomiverse. I was ear to ear smiling when I heard this out when this album started playing. First song I heard on the record was Kill Jill with Killer Mike and Jeezy, and I was obsessed with the production. I was obsessed with the song. I was obsessed with the verses on this record, and I was saying, all right, this is going to be a great album. My only fear was would he be able to keep it going off this, and he did. This album is probably his best solo effort. As for people who don't know, Big Boy is one half of the legendary hip hop group Outkast. When their last full-length album was Speaker Box and Love Below. Or we could say Idlewild, but Idlewild was more of a soundtrack. I try to say that's a soundtrack. Try to, like, remind myself that that kind of didn't occur. I try not to count that as an Outkast album. I know it is, but I try to not to count that as an Outkast album. But Speaker Box and Love Below, when Andre 3000 and Big Boi both did solo projects, Speaker Box was Big Boi's solo effort, and it was a very good effort there. And then he had Sir Lucius Left Foot, and then he also had Vicious Lies and Dangerous Rumors. And then he had this, and this is like a long wait for this record as well. But Boomiverse delivered. Boomiverse was an excellent project. I was shocked at how well, I'm not shocked at how well Big Boi raps, but I'm shocked that he still is passionate about his work. He had a lot of joints on this album. Mike Jack, Kill Jill, like I mentioned earlier, Order of Operations. All Night, when I first heard the beat for All Night, I was like, how is he gonna knock this out the park? And he knocked it out of the park. This album was rock solid, to say the least. One of the best projects of the year, hence why it's number 5 on my list. Big Boi, Boomiverse. Number 4, Oddisee, The Iceberg. Oddisee, we talk about consistent rappers. Oddisee is probably definitely the most consistent rapper in the game. When the Oddisee project comes out, you know that it's going to be good. You know the production is going to be tight because he does the production. He does all the MCing. He has features, but not as many. But as an MC, he is severely underrated. He doesn't get enough credit for being a great MC, and his production chops are ridiculous. And now that he uses live instrumentation, he takes it to another level. The bass man on this album goes to work throughout the album, from top to bottom. He goes to work. The bass player is working. He's going to work. If you have an opportunity to catch Oddisee, if he comes into your town, by all means, go check him out. His live show is ridiculous. And at the live show, his bass player is going to work. But this is one of my best albums. This is one of the best releases that I've heard this year by far. It'll probably end up in my top 10 when it's all said and done. Considering how strong the first half of 2017 was, I'm interested to see how well that goes. But Oddisee from Mellow Music Group, The Iceberg, check that album out. Solid release. Number 3, John Wayne, Rap Album 2. I found this album by accident. I'm gonna be honest. I was on Google, and typically I look at the new releases, and then I looked at the new releases and I saw the album cover for this guy, John Wayne. I was like, oh, okay. Let me check this album out, because that's how sometimes I discover. I sometimes find things on accident. And I played the first track, Ted Talks. I was hooked. He is a ridiculous MC. He had tracks like Live from the FU, City Lights, the single, which was hilarious. So that album was rock. That album was one of the best releases of the year by far. That's why it's number 3 on my list. So after I heard this album, I went back and checked the first record, and the first record was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as this. He put it all together for this record. If you want to talk about hip hop and how things work, he knocks this album out the park, and he's a pure MC. He comes in, he spits those bars, and he delivers them very well. And he talks about a lot of personal stuff on this record as well. Like the track "Afraid of Us." So go check this album out. It's definitely on your streaming services. I think it got released in physical format not too long ago. So I grabbed my vinyl recently. So go support this guy and check this album out. Number 2, Jay-Z, 444. Yes, this album just came out last week. I've beaten this album to death for the last, let me see, it's been 4 or 5 days now, 4 days, 5 days. And I was trying to convince myself whether or not it should be number one. Like, but I felt like I probably needed some more time with it to make a fair assessment of it being number one. But I knew after the first 4 listens that it was one of the best album releases of the year. Um, from the standpoint of how good this record is, this album has a lot of Black empowerment in it. This album has a lot of personal stories in it. Like he talks about his transgressions in his relationship. He talks about the penalty that could potentially imply. Considering that he has a daughter, and there will be a moment in time where if those transgressions did occur, he's gonna have to talk to his daughter about it, because now in the social media area, everybody's gonna know about what happened between those two. You can look up the Solange elevator scene. So he let a lot of things out on this record, and I thought that No ID produced this record out of the park. I thought No ID was the perfect guy to orchestrate what Jay-Z was trying to pull off on this record. When it comes to hip hop, you can argue that Jay-Z is the greatest rapper of all time. And a lot of people were disappointed with his previous effort, Magna Carta, Holy Grail. I think initially people were saying, oh, it was a great record, but then it kind of fizzled out, and then it became average because it didn't grow. So I think this album has room to grow, and this is his shortest project. This album clocks in a little over 36 minutes. So this is a great commute record. You can just ride with this album. I think Jay should do another album with No ID. That's how much I enjoyed this record. He talks about Black empowerment. He talks about racial barriers a little bit. He threw a couple jabs to a couple MCs, Kanye, Future, the mumble rappers. He just threw jabs as a collective to all of them. It could potentially be number one on my list when it's all said and done. I'm still finding layers from the record, believe it or not. So I'm still beating it up. But I felt like the easy way out would have been to just say I'm not counting it. But that would have been a travesty. So right now it's number 2 on my list. It could easily grow. Should it get an album of the year now at the Grammys? Maybe, we'll see. When it comes to rap albums and getting rap album of the year nods, I rather just see one rap album make it, so it gives them a better shot to win album of the year, because that hasn't happened since Outkast. So from that standpoint, it could be the one, but odds are it'll probably be the album that's my number 1 album, which is Kendrick Lamar, Damn. This album was pretty much, if you take Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and they make a baby, you get this album. Some people say there's some Section 80 in it too, and I see that as well. But if you take Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly and put it together, that's what you get. You get Damn. It's a combination of both records. This album is really good. I think Kendrick was out to prove a point that he can go, that, after To Pimp a Butterfly, he can still make jams. He can still make number 1 records. And he definitely did that. And the production on this was rock solid. Fear, God, Duckworth, DNA, Element. I mean, this album, top to bottom, is awesome. It's definitely the best rap release so far. 444, I'm going to play it some more and beat it up some more. I plan on doing some reviews on a decent chunk of these records as well. But I think that's my list for now. Those are my 10. So to regroup and name my 10, number 10, Jinsu Dean and Wise Intelligent, Game of Death. Number 9, Joyner Lucas, 508-507-2209. Number 8, Royce da 5'9", Bar Exam 4. Number 7, David Banner, The God Box. Number 6, Brother Ali, All the Beauty in This Whole Life. Number 5, Big Boy, Boomverse. Number 4, Odyssey, The Iceberg. Number 3, John Wayne, Rap Album 2. Number 2, Jay-Z, 444. And number 1, Kendrick Lamar, Damn. Please subscribe to my channel, Champ D1012. Follow me on Twitter at Champ D1012. And I'm out. Appreciate you guys listening. Have a good one, guys.